Hello there. If you know anything about my videos, you know that I like to sometimes make a little bit of tomfoolery surrounding the elitists in anime. I know that is not anything too serious of what I'm mentioning, but there is people that truly believes that just because something is quote unquote obscure or not as popular as current day animes is much better. And as such, I like to make jokes about them from time to time. But once again, I never do anything too seriously on that regard. And I am someone that myself likes to see some of those old animes. And I had to go and watch one of them because I wanted to. And I finally watched Perfect Blue. And, Perfect Blue is an interesting movie. But we are not here just to say it's interesting. The first thing that you might ask is it actually good? Does it actually deserves the respect? Why the hell are you talking about elitists prior to everything if you're not even gonna mention them? Well, because whether you believe it or not, the elitists were 100% right. And this is one of the best, if not the best anime movie ever created. Before talking in detail about this anime, I would quickly ask you to please leave a like and subscribe so I know that you actually enjoy watching stuff related with old animes and quote unquote elitist. So I would appreciate it, and now let's keep moving. Perfect Blue was in my radar for a long time. It wasn't just a thing of last week or something like that, even though I kinda decided to watch it just last week. Don't blame me. No, I have known about this anime for a couple years, and I was always somewhat interested. Now, as you can see, I am not the type of person that goes and says, oh, I put something in my list and I'm gonna watch it the next week. No, it can stay there for years, if I even remember that the list exists in the first place. Yeah, I think that everyone has that one list that happens. Yeah, if you're not an if you do not have that issue, then you probably are not an anime fan. Sorry. But regardless, I decided that after several years, I was gonna watch it. And I was honestly, truly expecting something good. Like, it is Perfect Blue. The simple idea of the name Perfect Blue has always been amazing. In the collective minds of anime fans as a whole, it is like one of those almost untouchable masterpieces. And as such, I wanted to watch it and see by myself where all the things were coming from. Now, if I'm being completely honest, this movie was not what I was thinking that it was gonna be at all. No, this was completely different from what my idea of Perfect Blue was. I knew about the theory, I knew a little bit about the story, but I just knew some glimpses and some sparks in the middle of this darkness that was Perfect Blue. I didn't knew the vast majority of things, and as such, my idea of what was happening was very different prior to watch it. And when I fully watched it, it was completely different, as I'm saying. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. Now, the first thing that I'm gonna address about this movie is that it's an old movie. If I'm not mistaken, it came out in the year 2000 flat, and that means that the animation looks indeed like an animation of the 2000 flat. It is not amazing in the terms of extremely flashy, and the art style is very clearly from that era. So if you're someone that consumes a lot of anime from your eyes, this might not be the best for you. It might not be the best way to start at the very least with the elitist type of animes. And probably you would be better off with some of the more experimental, yet better, theoretically speaking, better looking like Mononoke or more unique aesthetics like Tatami Galaxy. But this one is just that it feels old. It is a good animation, but it's an old animation that feels old, and as such, it might not be for everyone. The other thing that was very important from this movie is the fact that its first couple minutes is kinda slow. The first 15 to even half an hour, there's almost nothing happening. Barring just like one small inconvenience, I feel like almost nothing happens throughout the entirety of that first half an hour, 20 minutes. It's not that it doesn't fully matter, because there is a lot of setup for the second and third of the entirety of the movie, but the first third is definitely slow. So you need to understand that this movie has a setup. It's not like other movies that we have seen in recent times, in which the first half an hour is already showing all of the crazy things that are gonna happen in the movie. This is not like it. This is more of a stereotypical classical movie. It has its setup, and then you will have the payoff. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about this movie by itself is the fact that it's actually not really a horror movie by itself. Now, it kinda falls into that category, don't get it twisted. The whole plot and how it's portrayed does feel at times like a horror-like movie. But in my opinion, it's more of a suspense, a pure suspense, with a little bit of unsettling scenes that might kinda qualify as a horror. However, I don't think that is fully a horror, and as such, I don't believe that people that would avoid this movie because of that should totally avoid it. I don't think that anyone that is a huge fan of suspense but they do not like horror should avoid this movie. It feels just like it kinda might scare you a little bit at times, but that's about it. There's no monster, there's no something like a scary screamer. So I think that you would be fine, even if you do not like horror. But now, speaking about the horror things as a whole, oh, they are truly amazing. Everything of what it makes this movie special starts with the animation and how it is made. Yeah, do you remember how I said that it looked good even though it was old? It looks really, really good. It is a very good looking movie. And anyone that just dares to say that it's not that good looking because it's old school, shut up. Straight up. I'm not gonna say sorry. Shut up once again. But yeah, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And this also helps a lot with the part of making it as unsettling as possible. The great drawing art style, alongside the fantastic visuals, combined with those unsettling effects and events and certain images and the picture, I think that is called for movies, everything feels so good and makes you truly feel like it's something that might be happening in real life, even though you know that it's a full-on story. Every single moment feels unsettling. Certain scenes, like the first appearance of the biggest fan of the protagonist on his room, is insane. Things like the second scene that she records in the movie, or sorry, the series, but yeah, in the movie, this movie, but actually in a series in the movie, you know what I mean. The second scene, certain different other events that happen in between, everything feels connected and everything feels like it's something that can truly make you feel that something unnerving is happening. And I truly love it because it works perfectly with that psychological horror without ever going beyond that, without ever trying to capitalize in the scary factor with something cheap. This movie knows what it tries to accomplish, and it does it in a fantastic way. And I really, really love it because of that. And speaking of how unsettling it is with this whole story, the story is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Every single moment in the build-up of the movie, every single moment in the development of the movie, all the way up to finally reach the conclusion and the revelations, is phenomenal. Is absolutely amazing. It feels perfectly connected. Even though it might feel kinda entangled at times, it unravels in a magnificent way. It is insane how good it does it. You'll have several different characters that you might question yourself, what are they gonna do, or how are they gonna do it in such a short movie? Because yeah, this movie is only 120 minutes long, and with that I mean 1 hour and 20. I do not know why I said 120. I'm very dumb. But it managed to accomplish everything in such a perfect way that it manages to even make certain scenes feel like they are too perfect in their time frame. Besides the starting point that might feel slow for someone that is not used to that type of build-up, everything else is so perfectly paced throughout the entirety of the movie. Every single moment, from the first scene all the way up to the last one, feels like it makes sense. All of the unsettling scenes with certain small details that are pointing you towards the direction of that final plot twist, with all of the in-between scenes, the ones that show you the character, how she is suffering, all of that is perfect, especially when you reach the high points in terms of shock value. There is certain moments that are perfectly crafted, perfectly paced, and perfectly positioned in a movie in order for them to be as important as possible. Because that is something that a lot of people doesn't fully comprehend. Something can be perfectly paced and can make all the logical sense in the world. But if it is put in the wrong point in the movie, it might still feel like a bad scene, despite all of the other things being perfect. And as such, I truly believe that this movie nails it with basically every single scene. The director of this, that I just read that is a newbie, or it was a newbie, this was his first movie, was an absolute genius. How do you manage to make this movie in your first movie period? I do not know, but it's fantastic. But the most important part of this movie is undisputably the characters. Yeah, in every single story, the characters are the fundamental piece, but certain different stories can live up a little bit more of their own story. But this one is completely connected with the protagonist. It's a psychological horror following the entirety of the life of a specific person. Of course, you need to have a great protagonist for this to work. And this protagonist is amazing. Mima Kirigode might actually be the best protagonist that I have ever seen in terms of introspection within a specific world. Because this whole story revolves around one idea, and is how truly awful the world of entertainment actually is. We see all the trip of the psychology of Mima, from her starts as just a regular idol to turn into an actual actress, and all of the rough things that that meant both for her and for others as well. As an idol, she was as pure as an idol can be. If you know anything about that culture, they are very, very strict with the fact that idols had to be pure. Why? I do not know, but that is how they look at it. I guess that is because there's a lot of very, very otaku fans there that would not accept something like she, the girl that they love, not being a pure angelic girl. And we actually see what happens with one of those fans. But we're gonna talk about him later on. From going to that pure war in terms of maybe being actually brutal in the inside, but being shown as a perfect, you are just a pure girl in the outside, she had to go to acting, which is one of the most cruel wars that you can be. Not only she has to start doing certain roles that she doesn't like, but everything surrounding it makes it worse and further from what she loved about being an idol. She has to go through several different things, not only leaving aside that pure version of herself, it's going full on into the adult world. Her first acting role was in a story about a murder mystery. Not only that, but also, outside of that, she had to promote herself. And she did it in very provocative ways, which I cannot show on screen, but you can watch it in the video of the entire movie that is on YouTube. Why is the movie in YouTube for free with all of that? I don't know, but I like it. And the most important part of them all is what she had to do in the first acting role that she had, which was being a victim of sexual assault. That made it so everything of what she knew up until that point was basically completely thrown aside. The pure girl was not a thing anymore. Not only in real life because of those pictures that she had to take, but also even the facade of what she is also was someone that was corrupted. And that is not the only thing that gets corrupted, but also her mind. Because now she cannot save herself in the pure girl that Mima used to be as an idol. She was now the actress, and even the roles that she was doing were corrupted. And as such, her mind was as well. We see the brutality of this war, how she wanted to actually stay as an idol, but it was impossible for her to move forward unless she went out of it and started doing something bigger. It was something that took a mental toll on her, but she had to do it. And started doing it worse and worse the longer and longer she started acting, and the more and more she had to go into this horrible acting job that she had. It wasn't horrible because she was a bad person or anything, but because of the things that were portraying there were kind of things that were also happening to her in real life. With the exception of the assault part, basically everything felt like it might be what was happening with her. A very fantastically crafted dichotomy of both sides of the coin being actually the exact same. Both the acting side of Mima, but also the real life, being both one and the same. Even if they're not truly one and the same, they feel like it. And throughout all of this, Mima also develops another personality, which is the idol Mima, the ideal version of herself, the uncorrupted one that no longer exists. This perfect idea and representation of her was the thing that was truly damaging her. Being able to regularly see herself as this idealized version of herself that no longer existed was truly damaging her psyche. She was someone that wanted to move forward, maybe, but she didn't knew that. And instead, she constantly kept wondering and wanting to watch that old version of Mima. Especially because the idol group in which she used to be before she left them actually started to become more successful. She wasn't certain if it was because of her or if it was just a thing of bad luck. But that seeing those girls that he used to be so close with for so long being successful without her, and now she having to go by herself, was very damaging. And it's very interesting because we see that she is actually a very successful actress that is starting to become way more popular. Yet that doesn't matter for her. She feels like she was feeling bad because she couldn't make it as an idol, even if her whole goal wasn't 100% that. And it actually was to become successful in the best way possible. It wasn't never supposed to be only idol, but it was the first thing that she knew and something that she really loved. And as such, that's how she portrayed the actual idealized version of success that she wanted. And that's why her whole idealized version was an idol version of herself that no longer existed. It was also the way in which other people met her and started knowing her. That's the reason to why the already mentioned fans started existing. This fan was someone very important in the whole story. He was someone that was supporting her from the stars, from the build up, from the ground. Yet he stopped being as much as a fan once she started being an actress, because she was no longer the pure idol that she used to be. And as such, he was one of those crazy fans that wanted to eliminate the new version of this girl, and he blamed everyone for what happened. He is the reason as to why the story starts developing, because he truly believed that the Mima that was existing somewhere else was the real Mima. That Mima that was an idol was somewhere out there. And despite the fact that she actually didn't existed, he felt like she was talking to him. He felt like she was out there and he had to recover her. He is the whole reason as to why the plot started moving forward in a significant way. He is one of the first reasons as to why Mima starts feeling unsettled. How we start looking at things in the wrong direction. How we start feeling that it's also inevitable that he is gonna do something to her. Yet, Even though when it happens, it's still something more. There's something else. There's something even more unsettling. Something that doesn't feel right. Even after all of the things with the fan conclude, there's something wrong out there. And there is where we have the reveal. This reveal, for obvious reasons, is a huge spoiler, and that's why I decided to leave it at the end of the video and in a short term. But if you want to watch it and you do not want me to tell you about it, please leave the video, just straight up. It's gonna be better for you, and you are not gonna come and blame me for spoiling something that I'm warning you about. I will not accept those. Sorry. But yeah, the final reveal is truly what broke this whole story. I was truly not certain as to what was supposed to be the final point up until this happened. I felt like it was a good movie prior to that, but I felt like there was something lacking. And the reveal was finally revealed. And oh my god, the entirety of the thing went upside down. The real thing that happened was the following. Throughout the entire of the movie, we see several different assassinations happening. Basically, all of them felt like they were made by the fan. Yet we knew that one of them was basically impossible for it to be a fan because we saw things that only the culprit can get. All of them on the hands of Mima. So we had this fantastic idea of Mima actually maybe turning into the character that she was portraying, maybe a bipolar disorder. Yet her bipolar disorder was not hers, but instead the one of her manager. One character that has been prevalent throughout the entirety of the story that we didn't knew how she was directly related with it, but we finally see it on the reflection of a mirror, we see that the Mima that is an idol is not an idol Mima, but instead the manager that used to be an idol, and she wanted Mima to stay like that. She wanted to drag Mima down. She wanted her to not be able to advance with her whole career. And that reveal completely recontextualizes everything because it's no longer Mima talking with a voice on her head that she can portray because this is an anime. No, there was a real person there consistently dragging her down, consistently telling her how she should be miserable. It was absolutely groundbreaking. It was absolutely mind blowing. And the final reveal and how she tries to eliminate Mima once she actually understands that this fake Mima was never a thing that she should have even paid attention to is absolutely insane. And the chasing in which we see the two versions of the story, both the ideal Mima trying to eliminate the real current day Mima, and the other one on the reflections of the actual manager trying to take out Mima because Mima didn't want to follow the path that the manager wanted her to. It was absolutely fantastic. The cinematography was perfect. All of the two ideas clashing at the same time, as I'm saying, recontextualizing everything, was just perfect. Without this moment, it was a good movie, but it would have been one of those countless movies that would have made you just feel like it was good and that's it. It would have been a good introspection into how horrible the world of entertainment as a whole is. And it would have been a good introspection as to how horrible the world of idols can be as well. But the idea of the manager being the actual Mima or the fake Mima completely changes everything. To be also the story of someone that drags you down because it doesn't want you to advance. How we have seen it countless times. From managers to agents of actual athletes to even something as simple as your own family at times. How several different people has suffered from having a family that doesn't want to support them. Yet they want to keep moving forward and they finally achieve it. This story might be one that is very old. It was actually made in 1998, not in 2000, so makes it even older. It's very close to reaching its 30-year anniversary, yet it feels like it's more alive than ever. In a world in which there's so many crazy people, so many people trying to drag down others, we have to follow the message that no matter how horrible the things is, no matter how horrible everything looks, we have to keep moving forward. Just like Mima had to keep moving forward. Stop being the idol, the ideal version of herself, and turn into a real Mima. A version that, whether she likes it or not, is her version. It's the real Mima. No longer the protected one by the whole system, but rather the actual best version of herself. In the same way that you should stop looking at the past and start looking forward to find the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want more content like this talking about really old animes, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It will help the channel to grow and will also make me realize that you actually enjoy this type of content. And now, once again, I hope that you enjoyed it and see you next time. Bye bye. Bye.